Most people open their eyes every morning already defeated. The alarm screams, their mind drowns in noise, and they begin chasing a day they never designed. But there's a rare kind of person, less than 1%, who wakes up differently. Their mornings aren't chaotic. They don't rush. They rise with control, calmness, and a quiet fire that shapes everything around them. This is the morning secret of the Stoics, a ritual that turns ordinary days into deliberate creations. Before the world even knows they're awake, this 1% has already begun their inner war, not with others, but themselves. When they open their eyes, they don't grab the phone. They don't escape into screens or noise. They face the silence, because they know that silence is where the mind reveals its truth. The weak run from silence, the strong walk into it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, once wrote to himself, "When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself you have work to do as a human being." Those words weren't motivation quotes. They were reminders of responsibility. The Stoics knew that control doesn't begin when you speak, act, or plan. It begins the moment you wake up. The average person wakes up as a slave to their habits, their emotions, their impulses. The Stoic wakes up as a commander. Their first act of the day isn't brushing their teeth or checking messages, it's commanding their mind. I will not react. I will act. Well, that's the first layer of control, self-awareness before movement. Before their body leaves the bed, their mind stands upright. They remind themselves, today nothing outside of me can disturb the peace within me. You see, the morning is a mirror of your entire life. The chaos you allow in the first 10 minutes multiplies through your entire day. The discipline you create in the first moments echoes in every decision you make. Most people don't lose the day at night. They lose it the second they open their eyes. The Stoic morning secret is not about coffee, sunlight, or routine hacks. It's about conquering the self before the self begins to move. They wake with intention, not because it's easy, but because they know the hardest battles are fought in the unseen hours. Imagine this. You wake up and instead of noise, you sit in stillness. You let your breathing slow. You feel your heart beating, your mind whispering thoughts, and instead of chasing them, you simply observe. That's control, not silence of the world, but silence of the storm inside you. The 1% practice this every morning. They train their mind to stand still in the middle of chaos. They don't pray for an easy morning. They create strength to face any morning. They know that if you can master the first hour after waking, you can master the next 23. In those early moments, they reflect. Who am I choosing to be today? Will I react or will I respond? Will I let emotions lead me or will I lead them? No alarms can answer these questions. Only awareness can. Every morning, the Stoic re-enters the world as if reborn. Yesterday's mistakes are gone. Tomorrow's fears don't exist yet. There is only this morning, this single sacred opportunity to begin again with control. But control doesn't mean perfection. It means acceptance. It means knowing you cannot control the weather, the people, or the outcomes, but you can control your effort, your perception, and your response. This is where most people fail. They look for motivation, not mastery. They seek energy drinks and e-success routines, but forget the real power is invisible. It's the discipline of thought. When the Stoic wakes, they don't say, I have to do this. They say, I get to do this. They remind themselves that every day is a gift, and the way you treat your morning shows how you treat your life. The truth is harsh. If you cannot control the first hour of your day, you will never control your life. The mind that wakes in chaos lives in chaos. The mind that wakes in silence commands chaos. So what is the secret? It's this: win your mornings in the dark, so the light obeys you. When the sun rises, the world begins to move. Cars, people, noise, notifications. But before that noise reaches the Stoic, he's already fought his first war, the war against comfort. The bed pulls you back, whispers, stay a little longer. The mind says, just 5 more minutes. But those 5 minutes decide everything. The 1% knows this. Every time you obey comfort, you strengthen weakness. Every time you rise despite it, you strengthen control. You cannot master your mind if you lose to your pillow. You cannot rule your life if you obey your laziness. The Stoic morning secret isn't about waking up early. It's about waking up on command, not when you feel like it, but when you've decided to. That single act, rising when you said you would, is an invisible declaration of power. It tells your subconscious, I am in control, not my emotions, not my comfort, not my excuses. That's where the Stoic separates from the ordinary. Where most people need motivation, the Stoic needs discipline. Where most people chase feelings, the Stoic commands action. As the world sleeps in comfort, the Stoic wakes in clarity. He doesn't ask, do I feel like it? He asks, is this the right thing to do? And so he begins his morning ritual, a practice not of luxury but of simplicity. No noise, no distractions, just awareness. He sits, breathes, and watches his thoughts. They come and go. Worries, memories, anger, expectations. But he doesn't chase them. He simply observes, because that's what control looks like, observation before reaction. He reminds himself of what Epictetus taught. It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. So before he even faces the world, he trains his reactions. He imagines being insulted, ignored, tested, and rehearses calmness, not fake calmness, but practice composure. Because control is not built in easy moments, it's forged in imagined adversity. Every morning, the Stoic practices what others run from, discomfort, cold water instead of warm, silence instead of sound, stillness instead of scrolling. The weak seek escape, the strong seek resistance, because resistance creates growth. You see, when you start your morning with small victories, resisting the phone, embracing silence, moving your body, you create a psychological pattern. You are a person who wins early. And when you win early, you move differently. You speak differently. You think differently. You carry that discipline like invisible armor. The noise of the world can't reach you because you've already mastered your own. That's the essence of Stoic control, not to control others, but to control the self so deeply that the world can't shake your peace. As the day begins, people hurry, rushing to jobs they hate, chasing tasks they fear, reacting to messages that don't matter. The Stoic walks through the same world, but calmly, intentionally, untouchably, because he understands. If you don't control your morning, the world will control your mind. He reminds himself that life is short. Memento mori, or remember you must die. Not to be morbid, but to be focused. Every morning could be the last, so every morning deserves your best. When you think about death at dawn, your priorities become clear. You stop complaining. You stop comparing. You start controlling. You realize your peace is your responsibility. Your energy is your responsibility. Your reactions are your responsibility. This mindset transforms the simplest acts into sacred rituals. Drinking water becomes gratitude. Taking a breath becomes awareness. Moving your body becomes an act of respect toward life. The Stoic doesn't chase control in grand moments. He practices it in small, invisible ones. And that's what most people miss. Control doesn't come from force. It comes from awareness. It's not about fighting your emotions. It's about watching them rise and choosing how to respond. In that first hour of the day, the Stoic chooses clarity over chaos, gratitude over complaint, calmness over reaction. When fear whispers, what if I fail? He answers, and I'll learn. When anger knocks at they disrespected you, he replies, that's their problem, not mine. When doubt says, you can't handle this, he smiles, watch me. That's how control sounds. Not loud, but calm. Not aggressive, but grounded. Because the Stoic knows control is quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply moves with purpose. By the time the rest of the world wakes up, the Stoic has already faced himself, and that's why nothing outside can break him. He's already met his darkness before sunrise. By the time the rest of the world drags itself into motion, the Stoic is already in command. Not because he moves faster, but because he moves with direction. Most people run without knowing where they're going. The Stoic walks slowly, but with purpose. Every action, every word, every pause, all of it is deliberate. The world calls him quiet, but inside his mind, focused, directed, disciplined thunder. You can see the difference in his eyes. The ordinary person looks tired by 9 a.m. Already carrying the weight of stress, gossip, and news. The Stoic looks the same on the outside, maybe even tired, maybe even worn. But inside, there's stillness, like an ocean beneath a calm surface. This is what the morning control gives him, space between impulse and response. Someone yells, he doesn't react. Someone lies, he doesn't chase. Someone disrespects, he doesn't defend. As he knows, the moment you react, you hand over control. The Stoic never gives his peace away for free. And that power begins every morning when you choose awareness over automatic, discipline over desire, calmness over chaos. That's how the 1% wake up, not to dominate the world, but to master the only kingdom that truly matters, their own mind. As the sun begins to fade, the world starts to slow. The same people who rush through the day now drown in noise again. News, notifications, endless distractions. They wonder why they feel empty, tired, lost. But the Stoic, the one who woke up with control, ends his day in silence the same way he began it. He sits alone, the light soft, the world quiet. He reflects, not on what went wrong, but on how he responded. That's the final layer of mastery. Review without regret. He doesn't judge himself for mistakes. He studies them. He doesn't complain about what he couldn't control. He accepts it. And in that acceptance, he finds peace, the kind of peace that doesn't need music or motivation to exist. He understands now, control isn't something you gain once and keep forever. It's something you choose again and again, moment after moment, breath after breath. Every morning you win, every reaction you master, every silence you embrace. They all build something invisible, character. And that's what separates the 1% from the rest. Not luck, not wealth. Not privilege, just character. Unshakable, quiet, disciplined character. When others drift between moods and impulses, the Stoic stands still, rooted in purpose. He's not emotionless. He simply refuses to be owned by emotion. He feels everything but reacts to nothing without reason. That's why his energy feels different. People sense his calmness, his steadiness. They can't explain it, but they're drawn to it. Because deep inside, everyone wants what he has, control. Not control over others, but over the storms inside themselves. He remembers how it all began. The simple decision to wake differently, to rise when he said he would, to start the day not with noise, but with awareness. That was the seed. And from that seed grew discipline, clarity, peace. The truth is, most people don't need a new life. They just need a new morning. Each sunrise is a mirror asking you one question. Are you in control or are you controlled? He answers it every day, not with words, but with action. He wakes before the noise, breathes before the chaos, and thinks before he moves. That's the discipline that creates destiny. He's learned that freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's doing what's right, even when you don't want to. And so he no longer needs to chase motivation. He becomes it. His mornings create momentum. His discipline creates peace. His silence creates strength. As night deepens, he looks back at the day and smiles. Not because everything went perfectly, but because he didn't lose himself when things didn't. That's real victory. That's real control. He whispers a quiet reminder before sleeping, one that will echo again at dawn. I survived myself today. I'll master myself tomorrow. And then, as his eyes close, his mind rests. Not restless, not anxious, just calm. Because he knows he lived intentionally, fully, consciously. Tomorrow he'll rise again. Not because the alarm tells him to, but because purpose calls him to. And maybe, just maybe, you can too. Maybe tomorrow morning you'll wake before the noise. You'll sit for a moment. Just breathe. You'll feel your thoughts, your fears, your impulses trying to move you. And instead of reacting, you'll smile because you finally understand. This is the real morning secret, not a product, not a hack, but awareness, raw, deliberate awareness. Because when you learn to wake up like the Stoic, calm, conscious, in control, you stop surviving your days and start creating them. You stop being dragged by time and start leading it. You stop chasing control and start becoming it. The world outside will always be loud. People will judge, plans will fail, emotions will rise, but none of it can touch you if you guard your morning like a temple. That first hour is sacred. Protect it, defend it, build it, because your morning is the birthplace of your power. You don't need to belong to the 1% by chance. You can earn your way there through discipline. You can wake up with purpose, face silence without fear, and move through your day with the strength of a Stoic warrior. That's the truth no one tells you. The secret to total control isn't out there. It's inside you, waiting for you to wake it up. So tomorrow when the alarm rings, don't hit snooze. Don't run. Don't hide. Open your eyes, take a breath, and remember, this is your moment. The world doesn't need another follower. It needs another master of the self. Wake like one. Live like one. Live like one. Die like one. Because only 1% wake up like this. and that's why they control what the rest cannot even understand.